I, Volume 6 of the Bible story by Arthur S Maxwell. And if you've been catching up with us, this is Esther on the front of it in the yellow dress. So this is Esther's story. Okay, Part 3, Story 4, Esther's Grand Decision. Okay, you can imagine how Mordecai felt when he heard about the king's decree. The Bible says that he rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry. All over Medo-Persia, whenever a decree was read, there were similar scenes of sorrow. In every city and village there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and all laid in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's maid told her how upset Mordecai was, she wondered what could be the matter. Not knowing the case, she sent him some new clothes to cheer him up, but he would not accept them. She guessed then that something serious must be wrong, and she sent her most trusted servant to find out what it is. Mordecai told him all that had happened, and then we got to pause, and of the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. All he gave Also, he gave him a copy of the written decree. And then another pause. It showed it onto to show it unto Esther. Mordecai begged Esther to go and see the king and persuade him to change his mind. But Esther sent back word to say that she couldn't possibly do that. No one, not even the queen herself, was allowed to go to the king unless specifically invited. It was the law, and death was the penalty for disobedience. Yeah. To this Mordecai replied, "Don't think you will escape," adding these words that will live forever. "If thou altogether holdest thy peace in this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Yeah, that's the typical one. Who knows whether you are come to the kingdom for such a time as this? That's the famous words. And he got it in this book. It's all in italics. Okay. Esther's heart was touched. Suddenly she understood why she, a little orphan girl, had been made queen. God had planned it. He knew this terrible crisis was coming, and he made her queen to save his people. He had indeed come to the kingdom. She had indeed come to the kingdom for such a time as this. But how could she go to the king? It was as much as her life. It was as much as her life was worth. Okay, the words. I'm reading the words straight. It just don't sound right. Okay, Yet if God desired it, she would go, trusting in his protection. And then has a picture of her servant telling her and giving her the the decree. Okay. For such a time as this. Okay, we'll get back to our story. Back came a message to Mordecai with Esther's answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, Shushan, and fast ye for me, and eat neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also will I also and my maids will fast likewise. And if and so will I go unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. Brave Esther, noble little star, what a grand decision she made. How the Jews must have prayed for her during those next few days. Never had the synagogues of Shushan been so for so crowded with solemn-faced people, all pleading with God to watch over their dear, beautiful queen and help her somehow to bring deliverance to her people. In every Jewish home throughout the city, boys and girls prayed also, for they knew full well that their lives were in danger too. Bless dear Queen Esther, I can hear them saying. Keep her safe. Help her to be brave. Don't let any harm come to her. Make the king be nice to her. And don't let him kill us all. So the prayers of the young and the old went heavenward, while the angels drew near to help. Meanwhile, the face of God's little star, shone brighter than ever as she plucked up the courage. Yes, it's plucked up the courage to go see the king. And then has them praying. That's the illustration of them praying. See, all the Jews knew that she was, and they wouldn't tell anybody else. And as you can see, that there was no much communication because she didn't know that the it was already a Cree. She didn't know because she's a woman, so they do woman things, and it's complicated. Okay, that was the end of part 3, story 4. So it's time for a break. So I'm going to break, and then we'll see what happens later on. But I'm going to take my break. See you in a little bit.